everyone, Dorrani here from VG247, and it's been nearly 7 years since Dying Light launched on the last generation consoles, and in that time, this fledgling franchise has already made one hell of a name for itself. Despite stumbling out the gates at launch, Dying Light has gone on to become something of a cult classic, one that's still supported by its developers to this day. And from that well-supported, deeply refined base comes Dying Light 2, a new game set in a new world with a new protagonist. It's something of a clean slate for developer Techland, and in many ways, the studio has gone back to the drawing board in order to try and make the series even more appealing to gamers of all tastes. From what we've played and seen so far, this new approach to the series is paying off. Dying Light 2 is a playground full of white-knuckle parkour moves, crunchy combat, and story beats that can vary wildly from player to player, depending on the choices that you make. Multiple delays have shuffled this game back time and time again, but this time it's almost here for us to finally get our teeth into Techland's long-awaited follow-up to one of the last generation's biggest sleeper hits. Ahead of Dying Light 2's February 4th, 2022 release date, we've put together a quick rundown of the most important things you need to know about this zombie bashing epic. You don't really need to play the first game ahead of this one. Whilst you'll definitely get more out of Dying Light 2 if you played the first game, it's not an essential condition of entry for the new title. Dying Light 2 features a new protagonist, a new setting, and is set 15 years after the events of the first game. This means the apocalypse has had time to set in, and what we see in the new playground of Haran is a world used to fending off zombies, and a population adapting to this strange new world full of undead horrors and contagious diseases. This means, for us, we can go into the sequel knowing very little about the world of Dying Light and still have a good time. You need to stay on your toes. As per the developer, there are thousands of animations in Dying Light 2, twice as many as there were in the original game. This focus on fluidity and movement has inspired the game design quite a lot, leading Techland to create a city that's flush with towering buildings and perilous routes between them. You're going to encounter a lot of enemies that are too strong for you to take on in the early game, so being nimble, knowing your escape routes, and choosing when to run away are all important, if not essential, skills to master. Get used to melee combat. Haran, where the game is set, is a fictional European city with a lot of history to it. A large part of the in-game lore is dedicated to telling you why there are very few guns around. But you don't really tend to see many firearms in European cities, do you? What that means from a gameplay perspective is a renewed focus on melee combat and hand-to-hand battles. Learning how to use knives, poles, baseball bats, and whatever else is key to surviving in this city. Whether you're fending off the living or the dead, you're gonna need to become proficient with your hands, sharpish if you wanna make it through one of these long, terrifying nights. Speaking of long, terrifying nights, there's a reason this game is called Dying Light 2. You need to keep an eye on the clock. There is a day and night cycle that you're going to need to pay very close attention to if you want to get the best gear, or access the most dangerous places that have a little bit more security. During the day, the streets are generally a little bit safer, letting you get around the city a little bit easier, but zombies huddle indoors away from the sun's deadly UV rays. At night, they'll pack the streets, making it harder for you to get around, but letting you infiltrate their lairs and pilfer the best loot without much risk. But be aware of the time and plan your actions accordingly. You don't want to end up trapped in the depths of a mall when the sun's about to come up, trust me. Don't forget to sneak. In the first game, stealth wasn't a particularly viable option. Sure, you could try and sneak around bandits and zombies, but more often than not, it was far more efficient to just slice and dice your opponents in a flurry of knives and arrows. Now though, an updated AI and a skill tree more suited for stealth play means that you can opt to sneak around the clamoring undead and assassinate them if that's more your style. If you're finding a story or side mission a little bit too tricky, a silent approach could be just the thing you need to progress and level up until you're a bit more powerful. There you have it, 5 things you need to know about Dying Light 2. It's out on February 4th on PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S. And have you heard Dying Light 2 has 500 hours of gameplay in it? Does that make you excited or turn you away? Let me know down in the comments. My name is Dorrani from VG247. Peace out, everyone.